Hello and welcome to the Cut Content of, a show where we try to find content that you aren't able to see in some amazing games. In this episode we're taking a peek behind the curtain at an indie game that you might have heard of. Minecraft. It's the second best selling game of all time, beaten only by Tetris, but what unused content does it have to offer? Minecraft is quite unique as it is always being worked on, and this means that the game is constantly changing. This also means that the game is packed full of cut content. First, let's look at the Java version of Minecraft, the original version. Starting off in the particles sprite sheet, there is an unused particle for an angry villager. This was probably intended for when the player attacks a villager, but was replaced with a thundercloud. Staying with the topic of villagers, there used to be an unused speech bubble sprite. This never made it into the game and has since been removed. Lead developer Jens explained, "We did some experiments with thought bubbles, but it didn't look good. So in the end, we just decided to add an interface instead." Rubies were originally going to be added to Minecraft instead of emeralds, but were cut at the last minute because developer Nathan Adams is colorblind and struggled to tell the difference between redstone and ruby ore. Also, there's an unused flower called the Pioneer with its own sprite, which was replaced by the Peonies. And there's a purple arrow that has been left in the game since 2009. Here are some unused sounds that are still in the game files. And here's some removed sounds that are no longer in the game files. There is a potion in the game that cannot be obtained in regular survival playthroughs without the use of commands, called the Uncraftable Potion. The Frozen Ocean and Extreme Hills edge biomes are in the game but do not naturally generate in a regular world. Instead, they must be created using the customized world type. 4 unused mobs exist in the game code and can still be spawned in with cheats. The Giant, which is a giant zombie added in 2009 with no AI. The Killer Bunny, a reference to Monty Python's The Holy Grail, which used to have a 1 in 2,500 chance of spawning but now no longer occurs. The Zombie Horse, which were added along with the Skeleton Horses, but only Skeleton Horses can actually be spawned in survival. The Illusioner, which attacks players in a 12-block radius with spells and its bow. 4 unused status effects exist in the game too. Bad Luck, which reduces the chance of good loot. Blindness, which creates a black fog nearby and can be given by an Illusioner, which are unused anyway. Health Boost, which used to give the player extra hearts when eating a golden apple, but now golden apples give absorption instead. Saturation, which refills the player's hunger bar. And now, a quickfire round. Here are some mentioned features that were spoken about by developers but haven't yet made it into the game. Coloured planks were voted for by the community but were never added. Dirt slabs would spawn strangely underground and on the side of the cliffs, so Notch removed them. Lanterns were postponed for a future update, that was 6 years ago. The sky dimension was intended to be a new dimension but was replaced with the end. Fish were planned to swim in water but were only added as items. A friends list was confirmed in 2011, but never saw the light of day. Lua was originally going to be the language for server mods instead of Java plugins. Pandas and the Red Dragon were going to be mobs, but were never implemented. Seasons with varying day and night lengths were mentioned on Twitter and at Minecon 2013. Spike blocks with retracting and extending spikes were planned for beta 1.7, but were replaced with sticky pistons. Here's some features that were briefly mentioned with no further information. Pause the video if you'd like to see. Done that? Okay, let's continue. You've probably heard about the Farlands at the edge of the Infinite Worlds, before Beta 1.8, that used Perlin noise to make some strange structures, but you may not have seen these generated structures before. Completely solid large brick pyramids could generate far away from the spawn point. These were removed early on in development. Obsidian walls were added a long time ago to test which way north, east, south and west were. These were also removed at a similar stage in development to the pyramids. Even earlier than these, you would already be inside a shelter made from mossy cobblestone when spawning in. You would spawn with a chest that were filled with every block you could get in the game and a lot of TNT. Later on, this room was changed to be made from wooden planks and the chests were removed. Soon after, the house was removed from the game completely. Glass pillars used to spawn above strongholds for debugging purposes before the Eye of Ender was implemented. This structure was removed very soon after. Now let's take a look at some of the features that were added to the game but later on removed. Horses were going to have their own unique craftable saddles, but regular saddles were just used instead. Also, horse armour had a crafting recipe, but now it doesn't. Cats had a spawn egg at one point, meaning tamed ocelots could easily be spawned in, but an update removed a few spawn eggs. Then most of them were added back in, apart from the cat spawn egg. In one snapshot, air could be obtained as a block. Chain armour could be crafted with fire, but fire can no longer be obtained as an inventory item, even with hacking. The enchanted golden apple, sometimes referred to as the notch apple, can no longer be crafted in the Java edition, but can be found in mineshafts, woodland mansions, and more naturally generating chests. In the in-depth versions of the game, pressing F7 would allow the player to take a screenshot from an isometric view. The player would only be visible in the image if they were already in third person when taking the screenshot. Crying obsidian was intended to change the player's spawn point, but was given up on when beds were introduced. Pigmen were originally intended to populate villages, but were replaced by villagers. The quiver was a feature intended to allow the player to carry more arrows using a sprite from Legend of the Chambered, an RPG created by Notch himself. A song created by Notch called Calm4.og was created and added to an update. Have a listen. An unknown time after the update was released, the song was removed from the download. Players with the song would still hear it, but it could no longer be downloaded. In version 1.7.2, a button called Super Secret Settings was added. Pressing this button would activate a random shader effect and play a random sound with its pitch lowered. This was removed in a 1.9 snapshot. Finally, in version 1.7.4, Twitch.tv integration was added, but this was removed in the same snapshot as Super Secret Settings was. This was probably because the Twitch.tv integration was hardly ever used. But wait, that's only the Java version. Don't worry though, I promise I'll try to go very quickly through this final load of cut content. Minecraft Pocket Edition. The Nether Reactor core would allow you to create a fake nether in the overworld to get the nether items. This was removed with the addition of the actual netherworld. Glowing obsidian would spawn when the Nether Reactor core was activated. The cyan flower was replaced with the poppy. The stonecutter was used for stone crafting recipes, but these recipes were added to the crafting table, causing the stonecutter to be useless and removed. The update game block was a placeholder block with a dirt texture and hard to read writing saying updates. Also there was one saying 8 upped. 4 2x2 paintings exist but cannot be placed. They are called Earth, Water, Fire and Air. Cameras used to be in the game and could capture a photo of the player, but were removed and added to the Education Edition. Reserved 6 is a mysterious block which was used as a placeholder for fire in older versions. This has since been completely removed. Minecraft Console Edition. There is an unused image for choosing Battle Minigame DLC in the Wii U Edition's files. This image has Arena underneath the title instead of Battle Minigame. This was probably an early development name for the minigame. Easter eggs and some small background details can be found out of bounds of the Battle and Tumble minigame maps. Loads of unused scenery can be found out of bounds of the Cavern map. The rose flower was replaced with the poppy. The void was removed when bedrock was made unbreakable. When world generation got redesigned, the rainforest, seasonal forests, savanna, shrubland and tundra biomes were all removed. Rainforests and seasonal forests were combined because they were almost exactly the same. And finally, a copy of the lobby can be found out of sight in all minigame maps. Thank you for watching this episode of the cut content of. You can support the show by pledging some money at patreon.com/TCCO, subscribing and turning on notifications, or just watching some of our other videos. You can comment some suggestions for future episodes in the comment section below. But that's it for this episode. Bye!